Hello everyone. I thought I would try out a real-time video today in my sketchbook, and so I'm not sure how the quality of my audio is going to be. I've got rainy traffic outside and a gamer in the next room. So I've got these ballpoint pens, and they're red, burgundy, and I think sepia. What brand is this? I will have to list that in the description. But I also have these Uniball in multiple different colors, but I think I'll mostly be using the violet. These ones write really nice and smooth. If you guys are familiar with Uniball, it's a Mitsubishi Japanese brand, and they're really, really good for sketching and drawing because they're extremely smooth. They do have the colors listed on these, but until I go through and like label them with a larger piece of tape so I can just like grab them and use them, you know, like normal people when they can see colors, I will just be using the violet because it's the darkest and it's the like a shadow color. So I'll be using that as my black. And sorry, I know the audio like exaggerates things like the pens banging on plastic and stuff, which is great for ASMR, but not trying to overwhelm your ears. So I'm going to be using these mostly, these brown, red, and burgundy, and I'll use the violet when I go to do my, what would be called my replacement for black, I guess. I've been working in this Strathmore mixed media sketchbook because I'm trying to just kind of like use it up. And I find that when I'm sketching with ballpoint pen, I have to like tilt my paper up and hold it and try to get close to the paper, but I have my camera angled in such a way where I'm going to try not to hit it, but also be able to like keep it in frame. So I might have to just pay attention and scoot it over, and hopefully you guys can see it. It's not my normal lighting and angle situation, but we will see what happens. So cool thing about ballpoint pens, while you're working with them, you don't have to reach for an eraser or any other tools other than these. I guess what most people would call the downside is it's going to be like super sketchy. There's going to be lines that you don't want and can't remove. So I don't know. We'll just see how it goes. And sometimes it's hard for me to tell, other than the fact that this is the darkest one, I believe. So I believe that is the sepia. And these other two are red and burgundy. And that'll be more exaggerated on the camera. Like once I look in editing and be like, oh yeah, it's pretty obvious which colors they are. But in real life, it's not. So I've been trying to work on a format so that things like this will need less erasing anyway. And we'll just see what I can do. You know, at this point, and when I'm doing stuff in real time, I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to upload this, and you guys won't even know at that point if I don't. So, but that's just what I'm thinking about when I'm doing this stuff. A couple of these turned out okay while I was not filming, so let's see if we can get some to turn out good enough to upload. And today's one of those slightly compromised eye days where it's not really optimal. It's not that good. So normally this would be my circle, but because I'm doing pen, I'm just going to do part of the circle and imagine the rest. Halfway through the circle is where I would put my eyebrows, so I'm going to imagine that this is the bottom of my circle right here. I'm going to make a little mark for the nose, and I'm going to go halfway and make little marks for my eyebrows. This way all lines that I draw, all marks that I make are going to get incorporated. See? You see my nose is already off to the side. Yeah, it's not going to work. So we turn the page because I'll have to come back and use that page as a, you know, another scrap or practice page. But here's another clean one. Let's try this again. A lot of times when I'm trying to line things up, they'll look straight when I'm lining them, and then I put them down and I look and it's completely off to the side. One of the things I struggle with is that my vision is completely distorted. So when I'm looking at something straight like this pen, it just looks like it's completely wavy and bent like a noodle. It's like not even, you know, close to being straight in what you would see in reality. So I have to trick myself and do things quickly. That's why sometimes people will tell me I have like confident strokes, but it's really, I'm trying to like beat the distortion while I'm drawing. I'm like, hurry up, put the mark down before it gets wonky. Okay, here we go again. Let's try doing the eyebrows first before we do the nose, because then we'll have a better chance maybe of lining it up. And I try like different things every time I'm sketching. I'm like, which would be about more beneficial to do first, because the eyebrows, even if you get them off center, you can elongate an edge or the end or the beginning of the eyebrow to, you know, to fix that. And as you can see, I'm already too close to this side, but you know, I can just stretch it out over this way. And these are just really straight, but I'll eventually fill them in to where they're more like eyebrows, you know? And a lot of it's going to be scribbly, sketchy lines, because again, you know, it's pen, so I'm gonna make some straight sides here. If you're doing Loomis method, then it's like flattening the sides of the head anyway. So that's the circle, then we come back around here, then this is the nose. And that's somewhat centered. Better than last time, though. So, with the nose, less is more. You put the dark parts, and then you know, enhance or shade as you need to later. Usually the right side of my face, eyebrows always kind of raised as if the person's kind of like giving this quizzical look, but I really don't really mind that too much, but it is something I'm working on to try to get them more straight. I know you guys probably know what I'm talking about when you're doing, you're drawing faces, trying to get the symmetry, and then one side's always kind of like up a little higher. I mean, I think that's kind of true in real life too. When you look at people's faces, they're not completely symmetrical. And I couldn't really tell if they were anyway, so. So I'm going to darken all areas that will help me keep these proportions or facial features in line, and then go in later and do more shading and detail and stuff. But this is about the point when I'm trying to establish where the jawline and the cheekbones are. And I do that by bringing the sides of the head down. And then even with the nose, the bottom of the nose is where you're going to not only find the cheekbone and the separation from the top part of the skull to the jaw, but you'll also find the ear. And so that's a good marker. So I'm going to make these dark marks right here. And I'm going to draw the bottom of the earlobe, because that kind of helps me establish where other things are. So this is about the point when, excuse me, I bring the jaw in. This is an easy part to mess up because again, the symmetry or how long you want the jaw to be or where you want the chin to be. And so the chin is below the nose directly, and that is going to be your most like pointed part. Another thing I could say, as far as, I don't know, advice goes, is not to make your lines connected. That way, eventually you fill them in if you want to, but sometimes broken lines give a really good, I don't know, visual interest. So from here, and I jump around a lot. I don't do this for every single drawing, you know, where I'm like, you know, I would sometimes go in and do the mouth right now, but I'm going to do the hairline because that's what I intuitively feel like I need to do. So, and this is where you can get really expressive with your pen strokes because you're doing the hair, and these lines are very fine because this is a 0.7 or 0.5 millimeter pen. Anywhere where things cross over is where you want to make things darker. So I'm going to do my, I'm going to try to scoot over a little bit because I realized that a lot of this had been out of frame, so sorry. As far as hairline goes, another thing I've been working on is trying to make sure that I bring enough of that over the ear, side hairline over, because a lot of my earlier drawings, I just completely ignore this and it just looks like someone has like hair on top of their head, but it's not really like growing from their head. So just the things that you figure out like while you're drawing. And I mean, I'm not a noob, like I've been drawing for a really long time, but these are just things that I've noticed as I've been trying to improve, or since I've been caring about improving, I guess I should say. Never really cared before. I just was like, oh, I'm just gonna do whatever, do it for fun. Not really care if it's, I mean, realism is definitely not my goal, but I do like to emulate the look of at least shading and proper proportion. So this is going to be her right shoulder, and she's looking over it, and her left shoulder will be over here. So sometimes I determine that as I'm drawing, and I'm just going to make some marks to indicate that, because I can always redefine this stuff later. And as somebody's turning their head, their neck kind of does this little S shape here. And that will be shaded, possibly, maybe. All right, let's put the mouth and finish the nose details. Sometimes I'll do a Cupid's bow to make one of the marks to indicate the top of the lip, but this time I'm going to round the top of it. And maybe do like an open parted lip. Okay, I'm going to darken the corners because it's going to tell me where the mouth, like, and the smaller I go with my marks, and they're just like really hard to see, so it's gonna be like super dark. All right, hopefully it'll look okay in a minute. Yeah, really full lips and really thick eyebrows are gonna sometimes end up what happens when you're working with all the lines that you can't erase. You're trying to incorporate them all, so not really liking that very much, but it's just all an experiment, right? Okay, so that means if she's looking this way, then her eyes are probably going to be kind of shifted this way. So let's see if we can get them straight enough. Another thing that's been helping me with eyes, at least where they're looking or where they're sitting in the eye socket, is that the iris takes up like a little more than a third of the eye, and the whites take up a little more than half. If you look at real eyes, like in people's heads, if they're looking straight ahead, then they have the whites on both sides, and they're going to take up, they're going to be less than the size of the iris. But when the eyes are looking completely off to one side, you're going to see more white than you would iris. So that is something that I don't know if you guys know what I mean. You probably do, but it doesn't sound very well explained. Let's do some like serious eye bags. That's a thing, especially like in makeup trends right now. Did you know what this thing is even called? Like, I guess in Korean makeup, there's like a name for it. It's called the aegusal. Aegusal. It's a funny word. But yeah, it's the little lower lid eye bag. So let's give her some eyelids and maybe some she needs something. Need to fix something with her mouth here. And I will put just a little bit of red in the nose. Do some hatching for the cheekbone and use some red for that. It's looking kind of weird, but we'll see where it takes us. I'm gonna grab my violet pen and finish off the eyes. I'll figure out how to film this type of position better, but for now this is probably as good as it's gonna get. Yeah, I know this is like super rough. Can always draw better when there's no camera going on. I'll do like a couple of like decent drawings like while I'm just practicing, and I'm like, oh, I need to film. I should film this. And then I go try to do it and I'm like, why can't I do it now? Because my angles change and my restrictions change, so. Yeah, ballpoint pen is really fun to use. I haven't done it that much lately, but I guess over the last few days I've just been not wanting to do like a big setup with a lot of different types of supplies, or even with the pencils, you know, like I got all these erasers and blending tools, and just wanted something I can just grab and not stop and pick up different things unless I'm just changing a color. And then that's why I'm working with only basically 2 or I think 3 colors in this drawing. So this is the violet. How's the weather where you guys are? I'm in rainy all the time, Portland. It doesn't really start snowing here until like end of January. It's gonna be just raining like every other day for like 2 months. And I'm pretty sure these are waterproof. So I could, you know, do some lighter sketches, or, you know, less intense sketches and probably watercolor over it, but and I apologize if a lot of this is not in frame, because as I'm drawing I have to check the camera and see. You know, you go too far with the pen and you can't really take it back. So you just kind of have to be okay with what you do and know you can't really correct it. You just add more lines, try to give the illusion that it's corrected, but as if her eyebrows weren't already thick enough, you know. I'm just gonna go and give her some serious well, maybe that's all I got for today. I'll lay it down and adjust the camera to look at it at a better angle. Hopefully you guys can see it better. Oh yeah, super scribbly. Keep messing with the ballpoint pens and see if I can do better. Okay, well, thanks for watching. Hope you guys are having a great one, and catch you in the next one. Bye.